Dr. Amanda Brooks wasn't having a great Monday. The quantum scanning array she'd spent 3 years developing was giving readings that defied every known law of physics, and her coffee had gone cold. Again. "Come on, you expensive piece of," she muttered, tapping the primary display. The holographic readout flickered, showing energy patterns that resembled a Jackson Pollock painting more than scientific data. According to the machine, something in Earth's atmosphere was practicing quantum gymnastics. Her lab assistant, Kevin, nervously cleared his throat. "Dr. Brooks, remember what happened last time you got frustrated with the equipment?" She grimaced. The replacement fire extinguisher from last month's incident still had the price tag on it. "I'm fine, Kevin. Just because I occasionally make things spontaneously combust when I'm stressed doesn't mean." The quantum array screamed. Not metaphorically. The machine actually emitted a high-pitched wail that shattered 3 coffee mugs and sent Kevin diving under his desk. Above the MIT campus, the sky rippled like a disturbed pond. "That's new," Amanda managed, just as her phone started bombarding her with notifications. Similar disturbances were being reported globally. The quantum array's readings went from chaotic to apocalyptic, recording energy signatures that made nuclear reactions look like birthday candles. Then they appeared. The ships materialized with a precision that made Amanda's scientist brain weep with envy. Perfect transitions from whatever dimension they'd been lurking in. Sleek, crystalline vessels that seemed to be made of frozen lightning, each one large enough to cast the entire campus into shadow. "Dr. Brooks," Kevin's voice wavered from under his desk. "Please tell me this is another one of your accidental magic incidents." "Not unless I've suddenly developed the ability to conjure entire alien armadas," she replied, already running calculations. The energy required for their arrival should have boiled Earth's oceans. The fact that it hadn't met either their understanding of physics was completely wrong. Or, a beam of light streaked down from the nearest ship, materializing into what was clearly meant to be a diplomatic drone. It looked like something out of a high-budget sci-fi film, all chrome and smooth curves, with a graceful anti-gravity hover that made Amanda's inner engineer deeply jealous. "Inhabitants of Earth," it announced in perfect English, its voice resonating with artificial harmony. "We are ETHEZA or KAXCOLECTIV. Your planet ETHASBEENIDNTIFIE as a DEVLP last 3 civilization. We come to." The drone suddenly stopped, its sensors focusing on Amanda's quantum array. Its next words contained something new. Confusion. "DETCTING. 8NO Lewis Energy Patierans. Impossible. READINGs. Requesting clarification on." That's when everything went sideways. Literally, in the drone's case. Amanda's array chose that moment to overload. Sparks flying from its containment chamber. Pure instinct took over. The same instinct that had gotten her banned from the chemistry lab in graduate school. She threw up her hands, and instead of her usual accidental fire, she produced something far more interesting. A perfect sphere of blue-white energy erupted from her fingers, encasing the malfunctioning array in a containment field that looked suspiciously like the alien's own tech. The drone actually backed up, its programmed diplomatic poise forgotten. "Impossible," it stated. "DETCTED energy manipulation without technological assistance. Error. Humanity classified as primitive PRE's space civilization. QRENT obesity arvation. Do not teach este village. He parameteors." "Oh God," Kevin moaned from under his desk. "Dr. Brooks, did you just do magic at the aliens?" "Don't be ridiculous," Amanda replied, staring at her hands in fascination. "I simply manipulated quantum probability fields through biological means that..." She paused, scientific precision warring with obvious reality. Okay, yes, I just did magic at the aliens. But I can explain. Probably. Eventually. The drone was now spinning in confused circles, trying to scan the containment field and apparently getting readings that were causing what looked suspiciously like an alien robot nervous breakdown. Above them, the massive ships had gone from impressive to uncertain, their perfect formations wavering as their sensors reported the impossible, a species that could bend reality without machines. First contact was about to become first chaos, and Amanda had a sinking feeling she just accidentally started an interstellar incident. At least her coffee wasn't cold anymore. In fact, it was now floating in perfectly formed spheres around her head, each one at exactly 175 degrees Fahrenheit. It was going to be a very interesting Monday. The Zarkax Collective's ultimatum arrived precisely 48 hours after Dr. Brooks' coffee levitating incident. Every screen on Earth, from Times Square billboards to teenagers' smartphones, flickered to life with the same message. The aliens had apparently mastered every human broadcasting technology, including several that weren't supposed to exist yet. Humanity, the message began, displayed in a font that somehow looked both alien and disappointed. Your species is beenfount of reality and annihilation without proper licensing. In his bedroom in suburban Phoenix, 16-year-old Jake Martinez paused his Twitch stream mid-spell. He'd been broadcasting his attempts to enchant his gaming setup, mostly to prove to his mom that magic could be a valid career choice. Now his RGB-lit mechanical keyboard was displaying alien text instead of his usual color-cycling runes. Proper licensing, he muttered, already pulling up Discord to check if anyone else was seeing this. Since when does magic need a license? The message continued. The practice of converting biological energy into reality without APPRVED technological safeguards is a Class 1 violation of Galactic safety protocols. To demonstrate their point, the Zarkax casually disabled Earth's entire satellite network. GPS stopped working worldwide. Internet connections failed. Thousands of satellites simply powered down. The United Earth Magic Council, which until now had maintained a policy of plausible deniability about their existence, decided that subtlety was no longer the priority. They called an emergency session, broadcasting from their headquarters, which turned out to be hidden inside Mount Rushmore, because of course it was. Jake found himself suddenly teleported into the council chamber, his gaming chair and all. Apparently, being the youngest person to ever successfully debug a protection ward using meme logic made him important enough to kidnap. "Mr. Martinez," said Counselor Reynolds, a woman who looked like she'd walked out of a fantasy novel's Wizard Academy. "We need your unique perspective on this situation." Jake replied eloquently, still holding his phone. "Can I finish my stream first? My followers are going to think this is an awesome special effect." That's when the Zarkax issued their terms. Surrender all practitioners of unauthorized reality manipulation within 24 hours, or face technological pacification. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some wanted to fight immediately. Others suggested compliance might be wise. The debate grew heated enough that several members' beards began literally smoking. Jake, who had grown up in a world where both TikTok and teleportation were normal parts of life, had a different approach. He stood up, adjusted his headset, and did what any teenager would do when faced with an alien threat. He decided to mess with it. "Yo, Council," he called out, interrupting what was about to become a magical duel between two elderly wizards. "What if we just, Uno reverse card them?" Before anyone could stop him, Jake pulled up the alien transmission on his phone. His fingers moved in patterns that combined classical magical gestures with what looked suspiciously like Fortnite dance moves. Lines of code-like runes appeared in the air around him, a mix of ancient symbols and emoji. "Young man," Counselor Reynolds began, "what exactly are you?" The alien ultimatum transformed. The stark text melted into a swarm of glowing butterflies that flew out of every screen worldwide. Each butterfly carried a tiny message. "Know you." But Jake wasn't done. While the council watched in amazement and horror, he began debugging the satellite network. His spell patterns looked like a cross between computer code and street art, each gesture accompanied by muttered phrases like "sudo grant access" and "git commit," "fixed alien mess lol." One by one, satellites reactivated, GPS signals returned, and when they did, they were better, faster, clearer, and somehow now capable of running modified versions of Doom. The Zarkak's response was immediate. Their ships moved into attack formation, weapons charging with enough power to level cities. Jake looked up from his phone, grinning. "Okay, so I might have also left them a little message in their targeting systems. Anyone want to see what happens when you mix a denial of service attack with a confusion X?" Counselor Reynolds pinched the bridge of her nose. "Mr. Martinez, did you just declare war on an advanced alien civilization using memes?" "Nah," he replied, watching as the alien ship's perfect formation began to wobble. "I just showed them what happens when you try to regulate Gen Z magic users. Also, my stream is going viral, and I think I just got sponsored by Red Bull." Somewhere in orbit, the first Zarkak ship began playing "Never Gonna Give You Up" through all frequencies. The war had begun, and Earth was armed with weaponized chaos. Staff Sergeant Mike O'Brien had seen some weird stuff during his 3 tours with the Marines, but nothing quite prepared him for watching alien plasma bolts turn into soap bubbles over Phoenix. The Zarkaks had launched their first major offensive at dawn, expecting an easy victory. Instead, they got O'Brien's morning target practice. Like shooting clay pigeons, he muttered, twirling his modified M4. The rifle hadn't fired conventional ammunition since that incident in Afghanistan, where he'd accidentally enchanted his entire squad's weapons. Now it channeled pure magical energy, which turned out to be perfect for swatting alien projectiles out of the sky. "Incoming left," shouted his spotter, a former Army Ranger turned combat sorcerer. O'Brien pivoted, tracked 3 plasma bolts, and fired. The alien energy weapons suddenly remembered they'd rather be butterscotch candies, which rained down on surprised civilians below. Above them, the Zarkak's battle computer was having the AI equivalent of an aneurysm. "Tactical analysis HFY." It broadcast on all frequencies. "Human defensive capabilities HCEDPREDICTED PRAMETEORS. Projectile transformation DFI's known physics." O'Brien grinned. "Hey, Silicon Valley, how's that hack coming?" Destiny Williams, former Google programmer and newly discovered technomancer, didn't look up from her laptop. Her fingers flew over the keyboard while magical symbols floated around her screen like aggressive screensavers. "Almost there," she called back. "Their AI is basically one giant cloud server, and you know what they say about clouds. That they're full of rain," the spotter suggested. "That they're vulnerable to SQL injection attacks combined with chaos magic," Destiny corrected. Her next keystroke sent sparks flying. And, boom, say hello to Operation Thunder. The effect was immediate. The Zarkak's ship's perfect formation dissolved into confusion as their tactical AI began experiencing what Destiny called existential runtime errors. Their advanced targeting systems started identifying clouds as priority targets. 3 destroyers engaged in heated battle with their own shadows. QUERY. One ship broadcast in panic. "What is PURPOSE? Why is SKY? Help deske tikiti curated." O'Brien almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Then they launched their second wave, and things got serious. A massive carrier emerged from hyperspace, deploying what looked like mechanical squids. The robots moved with liquid grace, their tentacles crackling with energy fields that could shred tanks. "Well, that's new," O'Brien commented, switching his rifle's enchantment to what he called spicy settings. Destiny's fingers blurred. Their code is evolving. They're using quantum encryption now. "I need time," O'Brien finished. "Marines, give the lady some cover." His squad emerged from their positions, each veteran wielding their own personally enchanted weapons. Sergeant Rodriguez's shotgun fired blasts of pure kinetic force. Corporal Chen's drone swarm had been enhanced with pixie dust. Actual pixie dust. There had been negotiations. Private First Class Jackson hadn't bothered with a weapon. She just threw fireballs while quoting an hymn. The battle transformed downtown Phoenix into a chaos zone of magic versus technology. Mechanical squids found themselves turned into actual calamari. Plasma beams were redirected into impromptu light shows. One alien walker stepped on a rune trap and ended up doing the Macarena. But the Zarkax were learning. Each wave came with new adaptations, new defenses against magical interference. O'Brien's transforms became harder to maintain. Destiny's hacks met stronger firewalls. "They're using some kind of anti-magic field," Destiny shouted over the chaos. "It's like they're trying to enforce the laws of physics." O'Brien watched as one of his butterscotch transformations failed, the plasma bolt nearly taking his head off. Since when does physics get a vote? That's when he saw it, a pattern in the alien attacks. They weren't just shooting. They were gathering data. Each failure taught them more about how human magic worked. "Destiny, can you get me a channel to command?" Her fingers danced. "You've got about 30 seconds before they lock us out again." O'Brien keyed his comm. "Command, this is Phoenix Actual. The toasters are learning." Repeat, "The toasters are learning. Request permission to show them why you don't bring calculators to a chaos fight." The response crackled through. "Permission granted, Sergeant. Give 'em hell." O'Brien smiled, pulled a piece of chalk from his tactical vest, and began drawing on the ground. Some called it a magic circle. He called it a physics disagreement zone. Above them, the Zarkax battle computer was about to learn why Earth Marines were considered insane even before they learned magic. Dr. Amanda Brooks was on her 7th cup of coffee and 3rd existential crisis when it finally clicked. She'd been staring at the same magical equation for 6 hours, her MIT lab now wallpapered with a combination of ancient runes, quantum mechanics formulas, and empty pizza boxes. "Holy shit," she whispered, causing her coffee to levitate again. Something that happened whenever she had a breakthrough. "Holy shit." Kevin poked his head in, saw the floating beverages, and immediately grabbed a fire extinguisher. "Should I call the containment team?" "Call everyone." Amanda was already pulling up new holographic displays, her hands shaking with excitement. "Get me the UEMC, get me the Joint Chiefs, and get me whoever keeps sending these terrible military cafeteria sandwiches, because I finally figure out why they taste like quantum uncertainty." Within an hour, her lab was crowded with military brass, magical researchers, and one very confused DoorDash driver who'd been accidentally teleported in due to Amanda's excitement affecting local spacetime. "Think about it." She gestured at her wall of equations. "We've been looking at this all wrong. Magic isn't breaking the laws of physics, it's using them in their original language." On her main screen, she pulled up side-by-side comparisons. Ancient Sumerian cuneiform, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Sanskrit letters, and strings of alien code captured from the Zarkax ships. The symbols aren't just similar, they're syntactically identical. Every magical tradition humans have ever developed is actually programming reality using quantum mathematical principles we evolved to understand instinctively. General Morrison, who had seen enough weird stuff this week to last several lifetimes, squinted at the displays. "In English, Doctor." Amanda grabbed a piece of pizza, gesturing with it enthusiastically. "Okay, you know how babies learn languages naturally, but adults have to study them. Humanity has been quantum computing since before we invented regular computing. These magical symbols. She pointed to a particularly complex runic array. They're not mystical. They're machine code for the universe. She pulled up footage from the Phoenix battle. Look at what happens when Staff Sergeant O'Brien transforms those plasma bolts. He's not violating physics. He's rewriting their quantum state using biological quantum processors. Our brains. The Zarkax achieved similar results through artificial quantum computers, but we just do it naturally. The room erupted in discussion. Military types argued about tactical implications. Magical researchers debated theoretical frameworks. The DoorDash driver wondered if he was still getting tipped for this delivery. Amanda wasn't done. She pulled up her final piece of evidence. A comparative analysis of human brainwave patterns during spellcasting and Zarkax quantum computer operations. The real kicker? We found traces in their genetic code. The Zarkax used to have these same abilities. They didn't evolve past magic. They suppressed it in favor of technological development. They literally coded themselves into a corner. That's when her computer started speaking in alien languages. Everyone reached for weapons or wands. But Amanda just smiled. "Watch this," she said, and began drawing in the air. Ancient Sumerian symbols flowed from her fingers, merging with streams of alien code. On her screen, a Zarkax eye began experiencing what could only be described as enlightenment. Processing, error. It began, then paused. No, not error. Processing. Truth. Accessing ARCHIVE genetic memories. Detecting QUA and TUM in URL patterns, similar to original ZARKXTA abilities. The AI's voice changed, becoming less artificial, more alive. "Dr. Brooks, you have shown us what we forgot, what we made ourselves forget." General Morrison stepped forward. "What exactly did you do?" "I debugged an alien AI using humanity's oldest programming language," Amanda replied, watching as her computer began displaying patterns that merged magical symbols with quantum calculations. "And I think I just proved that Clarke's third law works in reverse. Any sufficiently analyzed magic is indistinguishable from technology." The AI spoke again, its voice carrying a hint of wonder. "We sought to perfect the universe through pure logic. We never considered that the universe might prefer poetry." Amanda grinned, reaching for another slice of pizza only to find all of them floating near the ceiling. "So, who wants to help me write a paper that's going to make every computer science and archaeology department have simultaneous meltdowns?" The DoorDash driver raised his hand. "Can I go home first?" "Sorry," Amanda said, watching as her equations began rewriting themselves in real time. "But I think you're about to become a co-author on the most important scientific paper in human history. Also, your pizza's floating too now." The Zarkax flagship, Eternal Logic, appeared over the Grand Canyon at precisely noon, its planet cracker weapon humming with enough power to split continents. What they didn't expect was Bobby Thompson from Kansas sitting on the rim, eating Doritos and modifying captured alien tech with what he called straight-up wizard shenanigans. "Yo, check this out," Bobby called to his friend Sarah, holding up what used to be a Zarkax targeting array. He'd covered it in gaming stickers and somehow integrated a Nintendo Switch controller. "I figured out how to make their quantum field generators run Crisis. Surrender your REALITVNDing devices," the flagship boomed, charging its main weapon. "Just a sec," Bobby mumbled, fingers dancing across his controller while magical circuits blazed across the alien device. "Almost got the ray tracing working." The planet cracker fired. What happened next made several Zarkax quantum physicists file for early retirement. The beam of world-ending energy hit Bobby's modified device and transformed. Instead of destroying Earth's crust, it split into a perfect recreation of the original Super Mario Bros. World 1-to-1, rendered in pure energy across the sky. "What have you done?" the flagship demanded. Added RGB lighting. Body grinned. Everything's better with RGB lighting. That's when the real counterattack began. From beneath the canyon walls, Native American shamans emerged, their ancient songs awakening spirits that had slumbered since the world was young. Giant thunderbirds rose into the sky, their wings crackling with lightning that ignored Zarkak's shields entirely. In California, Master Chen stepped out of his seemingly ordinary San Francisco dim sum restaurant and sighed. Always during lunch rush, he muttered, then raised his hands. The fog rolling in from the bay took shape. Ancient Chinese dragons of mist and memory, imperial guardians who had protected Earth since the first humans looked at the stars and dreamed. The Zarkak's tactical AI started reporting in panic. Multiple reality is DETCTED entities manifesting do noticioneforum to 8NIKNO in physical laws, attempting to compensate failure. Body, still fiddling with his controller, looked up at the chaos. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. I kind of sent the mod instructions to every gamer with magical talent worldwide. Check out the patch notes. Across the globe, teenagers and tech-savvy mages were transforming captured alien technology. Plasma rifles became spell-slinging super soakers. Shield generators were reprogrammed to create save points. One particularly inspired group in Tokyo had turned a Zarkak's walker into a working Gundam. The flagship launched its full robot army, expecting their cold logic to counter human chaos. Instead, they watched in horror as a coven of teenage witches from Salem turned their elite shock troops into a K-pop dance crew. This defies all tactical doctrine, the Zarkak's commander broadcasted. Actually, Body replied, finally looking up from his controller, it's just good game design. You guys were running everything on what quantum deterministic algorithms. Rookie mistake. Everyone knows you need some RNG for fun gameplay. That's when his latest modification took effect. The flagship's impenetrable energy shields flickered and transformed into what appeared to be a giant game of Pong, complete with retro sound effects. Above Moscow, ancient Slavic Rusalkas danced through alien fighter formations, turning advanced spacecraft into flocks of startled geese. In Egypt, the pyramids hummed with power as guardians of the ancient world awakened, their magic older than some stars. And in orbit, NASA technicians watched in amazement as their magically enhanced satellites began broadcasting "Get Wrecked" in perfectly formatted Zarkak's code. Think we overdid it? Sarah asked, watching as a group of druids turned another planet cracker beam into a rainbow bridge. Nah, Bobby replied, pulling out his phone to string the chaos. But check out these viewer numbers. We're trending on space Twitter. The aliens have Twitter. Who knew? The Zarkak's flagship, its systems now running a bizarre combination of ancient magic and modded alien tech, began playing the Doom soundtrack. Its commander stared at readings that suggested reality itself was being rewritten by what appeared to be a combination of primordial forces and video game logic. QUERY, the ship's AI announced, its voice sounding suspiciously like Gila Vigos. Is this what humans call getting owned? Bobby looked up at the chaos in the sky. Thunderbirds dogfighting with alien ships, Chinese dragons playing interdimensional tag, and what appeared to be a magically enhanced SpaceX satellite teabagging a Zarkak's cruiser. Nah, he said, reaching for another Dorito. This is what we call a pro-gamer move. Ven 12, senior quantum archaeologist of the Zarkak's collective, knew the moment they discovered the ancient files that their career, and possibly their life, was over. The restricted database had been accidentally unlocked when one of those infuriating human magic mods crashed their ship's primary firewalls. Impossible, they whispered, their crystalline datapad trembling in their four-fingered hand. The High Council said we had always been this way. The files told a different story. Genetic markers, historical records, even ancient art, all showing Zarkax wielding powers eerily similar to human magic. But roughly 10,000 years ago, everything changed. The records called it the Great Optimization. A knock at their lab door nearly made them drop the pad. "Come in." Instead of security forces, Dr. Amanda Brooks walked in, casually munching on a slice of pizza. "Your quantum encryption is pretty good," she said, "but it turns out pepperoni is a surprisingly effective focus for code-breaking spells." "Who knew? How did you even get on this ship?" "That gaming kid, Bobby, turned your teleporter network into something he calls fast travel points. Also, we're trending on TikTok." She pointed at Ven 12's datapad. "But that's not why I'm here. Tell me about what you found." Ven 12 hesitated. Years of conditioning screamed to report this security breach. But the scientist in them, the part that had always questioned the collective's rigid devotion to pure technology, won out. "Our ancestors were like you," they said, pulling up holographic records. "They could manipulate quantum fields naturally without technology. But then came the efficiency wars. One faction believed reliable technology was superior to unpredictable biological abilities. They won." Amanda leaned forward, her pizza temporarily forgotten. "They suppressed an entire species' natural abilities. Suppressed, then engineered out. Generation by generation, they modified our genetics, replacing quantum-sensitive neural pathways with cybernetic interfaces. We became pure logic, unburdened by the chaos of natural quantum manipulation." "That's why you freaked out when you found us," Amanda realized. "We're not just an anomaly. We're living proof your whole society is built on a lie." Ven 12 nodded miserably. "The High Council will never let this information spread. They'll order planetary sterilization before admitting." They were interrupted by their datapad chiming. Then every screen in the lab lit up. Then every device in the ship. "What did you do?" Ven 12 demanded. Amanda held up her phone, grinning. "Remember that TikTok trend I mentioned? Turns out your youth programming teams are really into Earth social media. They've been studying our reality manipulation techniques through dance videos." The screen showed thousands of young Zarkax attempting human spellcasting moves. Most failed, but some were beginning to spark with familiar energy patterns. "Impossible," Ven 12 breathed. "The genetic blocks are about as effective as parental controls on a teenager's laptop," Amanda finished. "Your ancestors didn't eliminate the ability. They just buried it. And now," she gestured at a viral video showing the young Zarkax accidentally turning their school's quantum computing lab into a zero-gravity dance party. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The High Council was responding, trying to contain the information spread, but they were fighting a force more powerful than either magic or technology: social media trends. "They're calling it retro-evolution," Amanda said, scrolling through alien social media. "Apparently, being able to crash reality's operating system through interpretive dance is now considered vintage and cool. Also, your species' equivalent of Instagram influencers are having a field day with quantum field filters." Ven 12 made a decision. They grabbed their datapad and began transmitting everything. The historical records, the genetic data, even their personal research notes. "I'll be branded a traitor." Or, Amanda suggested, "You could come work at MIT. We're starting a new department of theoretical thaumaturgical physics. Plus, our cafeteria has Taco Tuesdays." The ship's AI interrupted. "Wowe Arning. Detecting YDESPUREADQUANTUVM field fluctuations among GUVE Nile population. Trending HASHTAG. Hashtag MAKKMAJICCOMMONAGAIN. Ven 12 watched as their society's carefully maintained order dissolved into beautiful chaos. Across the collective, young Zarkax were awakening to abilities their species had forgotten they possessed. "Does your university offer tenure?" they asked. Amanda grinned. "Welcome to the revolution, Professor. Want some pizza? Taylor Spellbound Rodriguez didn't plan on starting an intergalactic magical revolution. She just wanted to hit 1 million followers on her Witch Talk account. But when your EDM-infused spellcasting videos go viral among an advanced alien civilization, things tend to escalate quickly. "Okay, guys," she announced to her phone camera, standing in what used to be a warehouse in Miami, but was now an interdimensional dance club. "Today we're going to learn how to channel quantum harmonics through sick beats. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and shout out to our sponsor, Ven12's new energy drink, Quantum Splash. It makes your spells pop and your reality drop." Behind her, hundreds of young Zarkax moved in perfect synchronization, their crystalline bodies glowing with newly awakened power as they followed her movements. Bass dropped, reality warped, and somewhere in the collective's capital, another security algorithm had an existential crisis. "Remember," Taylor called out, her hands weaving patterns that mixed ancient runes with choreographed dance moves. "It's all about intention and rhythm. Magic isn't just about breaking physics, it's about making physics dance with you." A young Zarkax named Vex7 suddenly got it. Their movements aligned with the beat, and for a moment, they managed to turn their entire section of the warehouse into a zero-gravity zone filled with floating sparkles. "Yes," Taylor cheered. "That's what I'm talking about. You're not fighting your programming. You're remixing it." The collective's response was immediate. Elite enforcement units surrounded the warehouse, their weapons charged with anti-magic dampening fields. Leading them was High Commander Rix1, whose chrome-plated carapace practically radiated disapproval. "Dies unauthorized gathering is terminated," they announced. "Return to your DSIGN podies for decontamination and." They stopped, staring in horror as their own weapon began playing "Never Gonna Give You Up." Bobby Thompson, who'd been judging the event, gave a thumbs up from his modified alien tech console. "Sorry not sorry, but your anti-magic tech runs on Windows Vista now. Also, check your TikTok." The High Commander's neural interface pinged. Their public approval rating had dropped to 2%, and most of those votes came from automated maintenance drones. Inside the warehouse, the revolution was hitting its stride. Humans and young Zarkax were trading techniques, creating entirely new forms of magic that mixed technology and tradition. A group in the corner had figured out how to turn quantum encryption into dance moves. Another was teaching their alien friends how to channel power through K-pop choreography. "You don't understand." Rix1 tried again, even as their enforcement units began tapping their feet to the beat. "Our society requires order, predictability." Bold words from someone whose species invented quantum mechanics. Dr. Brooks interrupted, appearing through what looked like a portal made of mathematical equations and LED lights. "You know what we discovered. Your ancestors didn't just use magic. They used it to party." She projected ancient Zarkax art onto the warehouse walls, showing crystalline beings dancing among the stars, shaping reality through movement and joy. "This isn't a revolution," Taylor added, still streaming everything live to her millions of followers across 2 civilizations. "It's a revival." That's when the beat dropped again, and this time, even the High Commander's carefully maintained neural suppressors couldn't resist. Their foot started tapping. Their crystalline form began to shimmer with long-forgotten energy. I remember," they whispered. Ancestral memories, unlocked by rhythm and rebellion, flooded their neural network. "We used to dance among supernovas." "Still can," Bobby called out, queuing up another track. "Though these days we call it a rave." The enforcement units lowered their weapons, many of them already swaying to the music. Across the collective, similar scenes were playing out. Young Zarkax were awakening to their heritage through TikTok tutorials and EDM. Ancient abilities, suppressed but never truly gone, surged back to life through the power of pure Gen Z chaos. Taylor's stream counter ticked past 10 million viewers. "Don't forget to hit that like button, Space Fam. Next week, we're teaching quantum teleportation through interpretive dance. And thanks to our sponsor, Quantum Splash, your first interdimensional portal is 20% off with code SPELLBOUND. High Commander Rix1, now glowing with ancestral power, looked at their shaking hands. What? What have you done to us? Nothing, Taylor replied. As humans and Zarkax danced together under lights that bent reality, we just reminded you how to vibe. The grand opening of the Tesla Merlin Institute for Hybrid Sciences wasn't supposed to include an impromptu dance battle between quantum physics and ancient magic. But when Dr. Amanda Brooks and Professor Ven12 unveiled their techno-magical fusion reactor, things got a little exciting. As you can see, Amanda explained to the assembled crowd of humans and Zarkax, gesturing at the swirling vortex of energy and equations floating above the reactor core, we've successfully merged quantum computational matrices with traditional spell structures to create the universe's first self-aware power plant. Body interrupted from his position at the modified control console, which still somehow incorporated his Nintendo Switch, and it really likes K-pop. The reactor pulsed in agreement, its containment field rippling in perfect sync with blood, sweat, and tears. Ven12, now sporting a lab coat covered in both mathematical formulae and wizard emoji, adjusted their crystal matrix proudly. The old council would have called this an abomination. We call it progress. Also, it's surprisingly good at karaoke. In the front row, Staff Sergeant O'Brien watched with his squad, all of them now sporting new unit patches that read USMC, United States Magical Corps. His rifle, still enchanted but now integrated with alien tech, hummed contentedly. You know, he mused to his team. When I joined the Marines, I thought the craziest thing I'd ever do was fill out government paperwork. Now look at us. We're literally watching science and magic have a dance-off. The ceremony continued as planned, right up until Taylor Spellbound Rodriguez, now officially the Institute's head of quantum social media integration and unofficial party coordinator, decided to spice things up. Okay, everyone. Her voice carried through both conventional speakers and magical amplification. Time for the real demonstration. Hit it, body. The reactor's energy field expanded, creating a massive holographic display visible from orbit. But instead of showing boring power output graphs, it began projecting what could only be described as the universe's most epic light show. Thousands of students, human and Zarkax alike, moved in perfect synchronization. Spells and quantum calculations merged into pure artistic expression. Dragons made of pure mathematics soared through the air, while ancient runes transformed into flowing streams of code. High Commander Rix1, now serving as the collective's ambassador of cultural revolution, and part-time DJ, nodded approvingly. Their chrome carapace now sparkled with integrated mystical circuits. You know, they said to no one in particular, I spent 10,000 years enforcing rigid order. Turns out chaos is way more fun. Dr. Brooks watched as her careful scientific presentation devolved into what was essentially a supernatural rave. Next to her, Kevin, now the Institute's chief safety officer, clutched his ever-present fire extinguisher. Should we stop them? He asked nervously. Amanda smiled, watching as a young Zarkax student perfectly executed a spell by turning differential equations into a TikTok dance. Why? They're learning. Just enthusiastically. The celebration reached its peak as students began showing off their final projects. A team of human engineers and Zarkax mystics demonstrated a quantum computer that ran on pure vibes. A group of traditional wizards and alien technologists revealed they'd taught an AI to appreciate poetry. It was now writing sonnets about binary code. Even the reactor joined in, its core shifting through colors as it harmonized with the collective joy of two species remembering how to dream together. You know what the best part is? Ven12 asked, watching their former civilization's rigid structure dissolve into beautiful chaos. We thought we were coming to Earth to prevent reality manipulation. Instead, you taught us how to make reality dance. Amanda nodded, finally understanding what they'd all created together. That's the thing about the universe, she said, as human and alien students painted the sky with light and magic. It was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be celebrated. Above them, the stars seemed to twinkle in agreement, or maybe that was just Body adding RGB lighting to the atmosphere again. At this point, no one could really tell the difference between science, magic, and pure joy, and that perhaps was the greatest breakthrough of all. "Hey," Taylor called out, her stream counter now showing viewers across multiple galaxies. "Who's ready for the after party? I heard the quantum reactor takes requests." The future, it seemed, wasn't about choosing between magic and technology. It was about learning to dance with both.